box-to-box overlap, and the All Blacks are in the Rugby World Cup final. They beat Argentina 44-6 in Paris at the Stade de France. Wow. Where do we start? From an All Blacks perspective, fifth World Cup final. That's a record. No team has been to more finals. For the coaching staff, this is welcome. After the highs and the emotions of the last game, going to the final, having a semi, no drama, like just getting through your work, getting a good run out. Let's just be honest. That was just a good run out for the All Blacks. First half, maybe first 20-25 minutes is where it was a bit competitive. Actually, all the way until halftime, just before the All Blacks scored. I have quite a bit to talk about, and I'm just going to start with Argentina. First of all, kudos to Argentina making the World Cup semi-final. They always manage to make the semi-final for some reason. Now they're in for a chance to actually play for they're going to play the bronze game, right? Third, fourth. So they're in for another bronze medal at the World Cup. One thing I realized about them early on is every time they did something well, they always backed it up with something that cost them dearly, right? So in the first half, when they were going through their phases, one of the things they did, they scored fast actually. They went 3-0 up. But almost immediately after, it was just like they were just doing things that were costing them, right? So first 3 minutes, they were quite impressive. I think by the time they got the penalty, that gone 17 phases. The ball carriers were doing work. They were really coming at the All Blacks. They were getting over the advantage line over and over again. The forwards were putting in work, and that's the type of physicality you expect from Los Pumas. But after that, like, it just hit the fan, right? It's like, first of all, it was a poor exit from Jody Barrett that actually led to those 3 points for Los Pumas. Then All Blacks kicked off, ball came back, and Jody managed to get the turnover, that was the first penalty. Then literally the next phase of play, the All Blacks get a line out. I mean, off the penalty, they kick to touch, they get a penalty. They get a line out. Ball comes in, the Los Pumas jump across, first of all. Then as the maul is going, side entry, another penalty. Again, this is just giving the All Blacks easy meters, right? You've already given them the penalty from the turnover. You're giving them this one. All Blacks again kick for touch. They kick for touch. They get another side entry at the maul. And this time it's in the 22. And that penalty resulted in the Will Jordan try, right? So that was 5 penalties in a row from your own kickoff. You push them back a bit, but then you considered 5 penalties to bring the All Blacks up the field. For such a good team, you don't need to be giving them opportunities like to come up the field as easily, like gain territory. You need to be pressuring them. So already that was the first like thing that they did badly when after scoring or after dominating. Another moment, they actually went at the All Blacks. They were like on their line for quite a bit. Then I think that's what led to them scoring the second penalty, right? So at that point, the All Blacks were now up 12-3. Then Bofeli, King Boff, kick through, became 12-6, a few minutes to halftime. And within like a minute and a half, the All Blacks are getting a penalty right down the middle, right? Like maybe like 30 meters out. And that was just before halftime. And to make matters worse, the All Blacks then ended up scoring, which means they scored 8 quick points with about like just before halftime. Coming on the other side of halftime, they scored again. That was basically 3-5-7, right? That's 8 plus 7. That's a 15-point swing in the space of like 6 minutes. And after that, the Los Pumas just couldn't come back. You know, they just couldn't handle the pressure, couldn't handle the line speed, the line breaks. That's another issue. In the Welsh game, actually, if you watch my prediction for this game, one thing I mentioned is that Wales, like over and over again, found ways to just penetrate through the Los Pumas line, right? Actually, the 2 tries came through the 9-10 combo, literally going through them. I think it was Williams or Thomas Williams, I think. So I said one thing that the Los Pumas needed to do in this game was not allow easy line breaks. I actually wrote them down and counted them. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 major line breaks. First one was Rico Iwane's line break, which led to Jody's try. First of all, that Jody try was amazing. Like the passing, the literally the how quickly they're recycling the ball, the offloads, like that was such a beautiful try. Anyway, yeah. So first line break, Rico Ioane. That was in their own half. Argentina is going back. One thing the All Blacks did well is that even though they didn't score off a line break immediately, they did well to recycle the ball to actually still score, right? So the line break caused the initial pressure on the Los Pumas defense, but then they do well to recycle the ball to actually go to the subsequent phases that led to tries. So that was number one. Number two, second line break was Mark Telea. Had footwork in the middle of the field somewhere, and Frizzell ended up scoring, right? This was the try that the All Blacks scored just before halftime. Just after halftime, Los Pumas scrum penalty advantage. At that point, you need to be a bit switched on, right? So Adi Savia picks the ball up when the scrum is like dominating, gives it to Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith did a mad quick step, right? Line break. That's another Aaron Smith line break, which led to a try because Aaron Smith actually scored off that. Then the fourth one was Will Jordan. Will Jordan's second try. And Tamati Williams this time, who actually was very impressive coming off the bench. For a prop, he was so good. Line break, that actually led to Will Jordan's second try. And then the last try was actually Will Jordan line break, which led to his own try, right? Then when they kicked it over, the last defender chased it and was in for his hat-trick. Just speaking about Tamati Williams, one thing I'm seeing about these props, like Tamati Williams and Thomas Gajo of Argentina, Tamati Williams of the All Blacks, are such good ball carriers. Like Gajo he's like every time he gets the ball, he beats the first man. Big stocky player, but the footwork is like insane. So like I've been so impressed watching a prop be able to move that quick, right? So he's been one of my standout players, I think, for the Argentinians. And he's also gets like those 2-3 points in your fantasy team. That's why I was also very keen on him. I think he's made my team like 3 or 4 times. But those were 5 line breaks that I counted that all led to tries. Previous game against Wales, 2 line breaks that led to 2 tries. So this is one thing that's becoming a real issue for Los Pumas. Los Pumas scrum had always been one of their strongest points, you know, like as a team back in the day. For them to be conceding, like being pushed over as easily, in this World Cup, their scrum was 10th in terms of scrum percentage, right? Like that's not going to cut it. They still made the semi-final of the Rugby World Cup, still very impressive. I know that's an aspect of them that has gone down, but they've improved in so many other aspects of their game. One thing I've seen that they did against this All Blacks team that I think is going to really, like whoever makes it to the final between England and South Africa, Mark Telea cannot start the final because he's forcing Richie Mwanga to go and defend on the wing. Mwanga was defending off the high ball a couple of times, right? Not even a couple, like quite a number of times. He was being targeted over and over again. Mark Telea off the high ball. He does a lot of things well. Off the ball, his work rate is really good. So if they get England, I don't think Mark Telea is starting. If they get South Africa, I think they can start Mark Telea because that's someone who can go and look for work here and there. Because South Africa's game plan will just be trying and use their forwards to dominate you, right? Whereas for England, they'll still use their forwards, but tactical kicking comes into play with Owen Farrell and George Ford, and Marcus Smith at times, and Freddie Stewart actually contesting high ball. So that is not a matchup that they'll want to. They can't keep up with that matchup. Like the All Blacks cannot keep up with Freddie Stewart coming off the wing, going after Mark Telea and a high ball, and a George Ford or an Owen Farrell high ball. So that's one thing I've seen Argentina actively try to expose the All Blacks in. And at times it worked. So even the Boffelli, there's a time Boffelli had a line break where Santiago Carreras kicked to him in the corner and literally ball went straight to hand. Mark Telea was nowhere to be seen, right? I guess they're also defending narrow, so the space was out wide, so it's not really his fault, but that positional awareness, that spatial awareness is something that Mark Telea Of all the teams that are in the semi-final, now Argentina are out, but out of all the teams, I think he's probably the weakest off the high ball in that amongst the back threes. But what he brings to the field, other than that, is really good, right? So if they really have to play him, then what I saw the All Blacks do is having Mwanga go and defend on the wing, right? So maybe that's something they do a lot more. But having Mwanga on the wing means you don't have him somewhere else, right? Where he could be way more effective. And yeah, that's just something that the All Blacks coaching staff need to think about. And then what else? Yeah, shout out to Sam Whitelock, right? So obviously he has a chance to actually win a third Rugby World Cup, which is going to be more than anyone. Many guys have won two. Actually, plenty of All Blacks have won two, but he's going to be the first man. Actually, probably the first man to even have a chance to win three, right? So yeah, so that's going to be good for him. The combination of actually this game, he was so good. Like the first half, basically I think maybe one line out didn't go to him, everything else went to him. So that meant in the second half they could vary the attack a bit more, right? So Argentina would expect the ball to always go to Whitelock, but in the second half they actually said they went to Xavier, they went to Scott Barrett, so they switched it up a bit. But first half he was just plucking everything from the air. That combination of what's his name? Cody Taylor, Sam Whitelock, Aaron Smith, like it's clockwork. Like the ball comes in. If you're going for more, we're going for more. If it's being popped to the scrum half, it goes. Like it's so swift. Like it's something you can see they've worked over and over again. And All Blacks mole defense has really, really improved. Like I'm quite elated at what they do well. It's a quite dynamic team, to be honest. For Argentina, one man that really impressed me and I was really looking forward to seeing how he plays was Santiago Carreras, right? At first, just before they have a 22 entry, one thing they do is he would try a grabber kick or try, like he would try one of those things. And I was like, is this him or is this the game plan? Because if it was him, the decisions were not ideal. Keep the ball in hand. Already your forwards were dominating and getting over the advantage line quite a bit, right? But I saw him do it again and again, just on the 22 entries, like them about to enter the All Blacks 22. And at that point is when I realized that's more of a coaching thing, and that is a Michael Cheika thing. It gave me flashbacks of the Australia semi-final against was it the quarterfinal? The last World Cup. The last World Cup Michael Cheika coached. His last game, he did some dumb shit like this, right? Where it felt like it was so selfish, like trying to play from the back. And Catley Beale I really feel bad for Catley Beale. Like that was supposed to be his World Cup. Anyway, yeah, I luckily it didn't. I don't want to say it didn't cost them because the scoreline was 44-6. They lost 44-6, but just a few things I questioned here and there, So yeah, he's going to be leaving after this World Cup. I think Contempomi is going to be one of the coaching. I'm not too sure actually. I need to confirm that, but I think Contempomi and those guys are going to be like the next wave of coaches that are actually going to coach the Los Pumas side, which I'm quite interested to see. Michael Cheika has introduced and instilled some good skills. I've actually been quite impressed with him. I thought he'd not fare as well as he has done, so kudos to him. The man has even learned Spanish and he sings the national anthem, so you can see he's dedicated to actually helping this team. So Carreras in this game, I feel like in this tournament he has really matured. From the first game against England when he just looked a bit he was over exuberant. In this game he still has those moments where he really wants to go into contact and do all those things. I mean like going into racks and stuff when there's someone else who can go into the rack. He's supposed to be the first person of receiving the ball, right? He's supposed to be your first receiver. So there's a way that they do it to the Argentina whereby Malia also came in and started being first receiver. So that's good. It takes pressure off him. But he also has shown way more maturity in this game compared to subsequent games. And I feel like previous games. And I feel like that England game really taught him a lot. Like he must have gone back and actually watched tape, and there's things he could improve on, but he was not a clear he didn't make obvious mistakes and he didn't cost the team. So that match I'm quite happy actually with his game today. I know they lost, and it was a big loss, but compared to how he started the tournament, like that's a big leap. That is just, it's a change of mentality. It's him just understanding the game better, him being in the right places, making better decisions, So yeah, I'm quite I'm happy. I want to see what Carreras does for this team moving forward, because after the England game I didn't see it, to be honest, and I thought Nicolas Sanchez would be put back in the team like for the rest of the tournament, but you can see they're also building towards something. The likes of Sanchez are not going to be there for too long, right? So you might as well give these players this opportunity. And he's a young kid, which means like if he's in the Los Pumas setup, he's probably going to play another 2 World Cups, So this is like a building block for him. It's sad it's at the cost of having one of the most experienced sides they've ever had, and the likes of Nicolas Sanchez will not be there again, and Creevy and all those guys. But to be honest, going into the World Cup, they didn't expect to win the World Cup, but they expected to at least take Argentinian rugby to another level, which I believe they have, even though they've gone to the semis before. But this was one of the tournaments where they were not surprising anyone. They were not coming in as underdogs and surprising anyone. They were the highest ranked team in their group, right? Which is, they've never done that before in a group that had England and Japan, So they were the highest ranked team going into the Rugby World Cup in their group. So yeah, it's a team that's going up. It's a team that's going to cause havoc over the next few years, and definitely them being in the Rugby Championship has really elevated their game. So yeah, I'm just happy to see what the future holds for this Los Pumas side. For the All Blacks, they wait for tomorrow. See who wins the game between South Africa and England, and yeah, they're in the final. I'm quite happy. I expected it. No injuries. Something interesting that the All Blacks did, actually, just to finish off, was having. So when Scott Barrett got the yellow card, they chose not to bring him back on, right? Which I thought was interesting for 2 reasons. Scott Barrett has played plenty of minutes in this World Cup. Brodie Retallick was on the bench. He already come on for Sam Whitelock. So there's actually no need to, for that reason, that extra rest of him getting the yellow card and not finishing the game. Once his yellow card was over and not coming back on, he didn't play like the remainder of like 6 minutes. So basically, he didn't play like the last 15 minutes. That is, for the coaching staff, that is what they wanted. They wanted a way to rest both locks, but you can't have 2 locks on the bench to sub them in, right? So in a way, they found a way to rest him. And then secondly, you're already 44-6 up. So you have 6 or 7 minutes of seeing, an extra 6 or 7 minutes of seeing how your team plays with 14 men. They'd already done that for 10 minutes. An extra 6 minutes means that's more or less 1.5 yellow cards, right? In the Ireland game, you saw they got 2 yellow cards. In this game, they got a yellow card. So chances are the final is going to have a yellow card somewhere. So just having the practice, putting your team through its paces, you having practicing your game management, because that's something that you need to be good at, right? Whoever you meet in the final, South Africa or England, you will need it regardless. So yeah, I thought that was interesting and worked out well. So yeah, All Blacks through to the final. Rugby World Cup. This is box to box overlap. Tomorrow we are waiting for England taking on the Springboks. Peace.